Hello everyone! Welcome to another Let's Play of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. We are about to go into what I think is the final trial for the Rise from the Ashes episode. So extremely excited about that. We don't really know precisely what happened on the day of the murder, but we know it was Gant because he's evil, which I must say is a little disappointing. I didn't know Von Karma was evil until kind of that particular twist. He just seemed like a mean, evil, bad prosecutor. But somehow I kind of got the impression as soon as Gant walked onto the screen that, oh, yeah, he did it. But here we are. So let's go. Everything's going to be great. This is the defendant lobby, all right, but there's no defendant. Oh dear. I've been trying to reach Lana all morning. Where could she be? And where's Emma, for that matter? It almost seems as if something's been happening behind the scenes. Edgeworth. Knowing you, you've already figured it out. I haven't. I'm concerned that they were killed. Oh, well, yes, this. Who the owner of the 7777 ID number is, that is. I mean, yes. Well, I have a pretty strong hunch. It wasn't exactly subtle. Looks like I'm not the only one who figured it out. You know, the only reason this trial didn't reach a verdict yesterday is because there was room for doubt regarding this ID record. That, and there's a whole lot of blood in the evidence room, and I proved that there was a murder that happened there, and we still didn't understand who or why at the time, but sure, whatever. We've all just agreed to conveniently forget that fact. If that number does belong to whom we suspect, no doubt will remain. After all, he hasn't been officially charged with anything. True. Not yet. And in the event, once all doubt has been removed from the list, from that list, I could call for a ruling. "5 minutes, Wright, and Chief Prosecutor Skye will be found guilty." She didn't do it. And I figured you'd say as much. That's why I came here, to hear what you have to say. This is the first time he's ever done something like this. Lana's hiding something. The only way we'll ever know the truth is to draw it out of her. The truth. Everything goes back to the SL9 incident. Don't be stupid. Today's the last day of the trial. We don't have time to reminisce about the past. It's such a fine line how he jumps between intelligent and unintelligent. This is not reminiscing, darling. It's motive. You guys do remember motive, right? Like, we have not talked about that at all. And that's frustrating. I mean, historically, we haven't talked a lot about motive, but that was because in those cases, there was literally no one else who could have committed the crime. So it was like, well, we don't understand the motive, but it must have been them. But that depends on you. If she's found guilty, you'll lose your only chance to find out what really happened. I'll think about it. See you in court, Wright. Bye. This is it. If I'm ever gonna find out what Chief Gant has on her, it's now. Court is now in session for the trial of Miss Lana Scott. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. And why did they put Edgeworth on this case when I thought it was in order to sink him, but if they're not going to use this to sink him, it seems like they're giving him way more power than they want him to have. Normally, this is when the prosecution puts forth its opening statement. But before that, the police chief has a proposal to make. She can't. Morning, folks. How's everyone doing? Hey, Edgy, been back to the pool yet? No, I've been drowning enough as it is in my work. Oh, that's a good one. Don't think I can top that. If you don't mind me asking, Chief, exactly what is this proposal of yours? Lana, that is to say, the defendant, has asked me if she could speak directly to the court. She wants to do what? Having heard what she intends to say, I feel she should be granted her request. In the end, it should save everyone a lot of time and trouble. What's this about, defendant? I'd just like to make one simple request, and I'll be finished. Well then, what's your request? Your Honor, I'd like you to put an immediate end to this trial. Huh? I confess to all charges against me. On February 21st of this year, I murdered Detective Bruce Goodman in the underground parking lot of the prosecutor's office.
Objection!
You can't! Your Honor, The defendant's claim does not change the defense's plea. In that case, Mr. Wright, I no longer require your services. I don't think you can do this in America. I don't know about Japan. The system is kind of set up to prevent defendants from blatantly screwing themselves over, because that can lead to bad things. Lana! Your Honor, I forfeit my right to an attorney. The prosecution may lack direct evidence against me, but it has sufficiently proven its case through testimony and circumstantial evidence. I would like you to render your verdict now, if you please. Well, the defendant certainly has the right to self-representation. Her request is legally valid, although I think this is an unprecedented situation. Indeed, it appears there's no further need to continue this trial, even if Mr. Wright may feel otherwise. This can't be happening! It appears the time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant... Are you going to object, Edward? Okay. It's the right thing to do. It fits with the ongoing fanfic of this being how Edgeworth became ascended to total perfection and saved the world, and also he kissed a kitten. But it is the right thing to do. One moment, Your Honor. Mr. Edgeworth? The prosecution has not yet proven the defendant guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Any ruling at this stage would be premature. Come now, Worthy. I understand this is a difficult time for you. But why don't you just be a good little boy and keep your mouth shut, And this is what I mean by it doesn't really make sense for them to have given him this case if they weren't going to use this to take him down. Like... they've given him all this control, and if it was necessary to give him this in order to destroy him, that's one thing. But if it was just to give it to him, then they put the trial in the hands of their least loyal prosecutor. I don't think I care for your tone, Chief Gant. What? Creating another fabrication to cover up past mistakes. Sorry, but I'm no longer the naive little boy you would have me be. With this sudden confession from the defendant, it's obvious to me that some kind of deal was struck behind the scenes. Some kind of deal? Not everyone operates as you do, Worthy. Is anyone gonna ask where Emma is? I thought so. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to change its first witness. Oh, to whom? As its first witness, the prosecution would like to call Miss Emma Skye. Good boy! Now that is smart. Thank you, baby. Good job. I request the court hear her testimony. Mr. Edgeworth, I am exercising my right to self-representation. I don't think we need to I don't care what you think, Miss Sky. The exposure of truth sometimes results in tragedy. However, no matter how tragic the truth may be, it would be an even greater tragedy to avert one's eyes from it. That's true. Very well. This court shall grant the prosecution's request. That's okay with you, right, Chief Gant? Worthy. You'll live to regret this. Mark my words. Oh, well, I mean, if Van Helsing is upset at me... Oh, I'm sorry, it's Gant. Miss Emma Sky, please take the stand. Looks like Edgeworth has decided to take the horse by the reins. Oh, good. Alright, so she's not being held in a basement. Now then, witness. Please state your name and occupation.
My name is Emma. Emma Sky. My occupation? I'm Lana's little sister, and I want to be a scientific investigator.
You're a student, baby. Say you're a student. 2 years ago, you encountered the serial killer Joe Dark of the Joe Dark killings. Is this correct?
Yes. I'm trying my hardest to forget about that.
I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to recall those events one more time. Mr. Edgeworth, please remember this trial concerns the murder of Detective Goodman. Is an incident that was resolved 2 years ago really all that relevant? Yes, it most certainly is. Well, okay then. Now, please testify about what happened to you 2 years ago. Okay, here we go. It's bound to lead to the truth behind this trial.
I was waiting in my sister's office that day. A man came running in and took me hostage. Neil Marshall rescued me, but I'll never forget what I saw in that instant. The man raised up a knife and stabbed Mr. Marshall in the chest. I'm assuming he stabbed with the knife from the trophy, and that's why the trophy no longer has a knife.
It's a good thing you weren't harmed.
I passed out. I don't remember much.
That's understandable. However, please tell me, Mr. Edgeworth, what does this testimony have to do with Detective Goodman's murder? That will soon become apparent, Your Honor. You've got to admire him for his courage, considering he has no evidence. Very well. The defense may begin its cross-examination. Oh, so I'm the defense again? Okay. Is this one of those things where we can press on everything? Let's try. 2 years ago, the defendant was a detective at the police department, correct?
Yes, she was second in command under then Deputy Chief of Police Gant. My sister, she was the best detective ever.
Yes, I remember. Deputy Chief Gant and Miss Sky used to be quite the pair. I believe they shared the same office.
That's right. I'd always sit at my sister's desk and dream about playing that organ. I wanted to play it that day too.
The police department and the prosecutor's office held a ceremony that day.
Lana promised to take me to dinner after she finished her work. A man came running in and took me hostage.
A man?
Yes, Joe Dark. He was a serial killer.
Joe Dark was brought in for questioning on the day of the ceremony.
Earlier they said he came in himself. I still don't know what evidence they had against him since the case was supposedly open and shut and not there at all.
We were desperate to get anything on him that would lead to an arrest. When he saw his chance, he fled the room, right? Upon fleeing the room, Dark proceeded to take the elevator. He must have been in a panic because the elevator was going up. Then he ran into Sky in Gant's office.
There was a lot of noise coming from outside, so I opened the door to have a look. That's when I saw him.
What was the prosecutor doing there? That day, there were 2 people present during Dark's questioning. Deputy Chief Damon Gant and Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Neil Marshall had just received the King of Prosecutors Award. Young and dedicated, he went straight to the questioning room after the ceremony. Yeah, there's the sword. I assumed that would also be why he was the first to run after Dark.
When Dark grabbed me, I thought I was as good as dead.
And that's when Prosecutor Marshall came running in?
I don't clearly remember what happened then. But I'll never forget what I saw in that incident.
Can you tell us about that?
Mr. Marshall jumped on Dark. Just then, the lights went out.
The lights?
It was just about this time of year. There was a terrible storm going on, and lightning struck nearby.
So the electricity went out? Wait a minute. If it was pitch dark in that room, you shouldn't have been able to see anything, right?
Right, but just then, lightning flashed again outside. That sudden flash left an unforgettable image of the scene in my mind.
I see.
I told the detective about what I saw then.
The detective?
Yes, Detective Goodman. He was in charge of the case.
I can't believe we're only just now finding that out. So you spoke with Detective Goodman about this 2 years ago?
Yes, that's what's so scary about this trial.
And you told Detective Goodman what you saw.
At that time, the words wouldn't come out. That's why I drew a picture.
I think she mentioned that before. This picture that the witness drew, I believe it has an important meaning. But the list of evidence I was given 2 years ago didn't contain a picture. Witness, would you mind if we added this statement to your testimony?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, it wasn't on your evidence list. Was it on mine? I can't read it. So I guess we'll find out.
Oh, wait, the back.
Why didn't we tell her? That irks me.
Objection!
Mr. Edgeworth. This little girl put all her heart into drawing that picture. And yet, you would insist on denying its existence? Huh? I'm not the bad guy. All I'm saying is that, as the prosecutor for that case, I wasn't handed such a picture. That may well be. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Behold! This is the evidence list for the SL9 incident?
Okay, which one are you, little? Who just unplugs the lamp? Chris, you are a brat. I want you to know that. Truly. Brat. I need that lamp. Where is the light switch? That's just great, isn't it? That's just great. What did you unplug? Twitter says you're going through the terrible twos age.
This is the evidence list for the SL9 incident? Please turn it over, Your Honor.
So, just so we're clear. Rather than just type up a new evidence list and burn the incriminating one, Gant instead cut off the picture part and just took to trial half the evidence that he needed. And just fired anyone who asked about all the evidence that didn't show up. He could have just written up a new one!
What's this? What is that?
Hey, that's it! That's the picture I drew!
Two men appear to be wrestling here.
Objection!
What's the meaning of this? What are you doing with that list?
Me?
Only the prosecutor in charge should have access to that list. Huh? These lists, they're different from each other. What?
I thought everyone knew that.
It would appear, Mr. Edgeworth, that the evidence list you were handed 2 years ago was incomplete.
Cookie, leave it alone and stop trying to unplug the lamp. Here, get in the basket. Do you want to get in the basket?
These two lists fit together to form one. You can see the marks here, where they were torn apart from each other. So you see, Mr. Edgeworth, it's quite obvious what happened. 2 years ago. Only half of the evidence in that case ever reached you. What? What? Order! Order! Miss Sky, why did you draw your picture on the back of such an important list?
Because that's what Detective Goodman handed me in the questioning room, Your Honor.
Wait a minute. If this list was torn in half, then that means... Your Honor! Are you alright, Mr. Wright? Your eyes are bulging from your head. If the evidence list was torn in half, there might be more of the drawing on the back of Mr. Edgeworth's list. Yes, that's quite conceivable. Mr. Edgeworth? It's possible. Let's see. Is something wrong? Do you even have to ask? Sorry, Your Honor. There is indeed something drawn on the back of my list. It's that thing. What? That's the thing that was dancing in the evidence room. Clearly, this act of vandalism is the work of a certain chief of detectives. I guess he was out of scrap paper. Really? Very well. Witness. Will you please testify about the picture you drew 2 years ago?
Huh? Oh, yes, sir, Your Honor.
What's wrong with Emma? She seemed to be thinking about something when she was looking at the picture.
This is the picture I drew 2 years ago. The flash of lightning was so bright, all I could see were shadows. After that, I must have fainted. This picture shows exactly what I saw in that instant.
To think a flash of lightning could burn such an image in your mind. Thanks to that thought, though, she was able to show us exactly what she saw. Well, I don't see any contradictions here. This clearly shows Joe Dark about to murder Prosecutor Neil Marshall. The defense may now begin its cross-examination.
Chris, were you climbing the actual literal wall? How are you doing that? Okay.
Hold it!
Did you draw this picture right after the incident?
I think I drew it 2 or 3 days later. At first, I was in such a state of shock that I couldn't do anything.
During that time, the investigation team was reorganized. Detective Goodman was placed in charge. Under the direction of Damon Gant and Lana Skye. Two or 3 days later, the memory should still have been fresh in her mind. Excuse me, witness, but can you please tell us why this picture is painted all black?
The flash of lightning was so bright, all I could see were shadows. After that, I fainted. This picture shows what I saw in that instant.
She claims this is the scene that was imprinted in her mind. And yet, there's clearly a contradiction here. What's the contradiction? We have an autopsy report, right?
Stabbed in the back.
Objection!
Your Honor, that statement contradicts this evidence. It does? I don't see anything contradictory.
What are you talking about? I'm not doing it on the right one. This is very frustrating.
Objection!
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this picture the witness drew contains a blatant contradiction.
What? But I remember it like it was yesterday.
Mr. Wright, perhaps it would be faster if you pointed out the contradiction for us. What part of this picture contradicts the autopsy report?
Take that!
The contradiction, of course, lies here. Take a look at the knife the man is holding. If you look closely, you can see its tip is broken. Even I don't have to look closely to see that, Mr. Wright. That wasn't what I was going for. I thought it was the fact that it said he was stabbed in the back instead of in the front.
But Mr. Wright, look at the evidence! See the murder weapon? Its tip is broken too!
If I recall, the tip of the knife was found broken off in the victim's body.
It was the conclusive piece of evidence that proved Joe Dark was the murderer.
Are you guys really that thick? I'm afraid it's not so simple, Emma.
Objection!
And where, pray tell, could you possibly see a problem?
You don't get it either?
It's obvious, really. The victim suffered a single stab wound to the back. If the victim was only stabbed once, then the murder weapon should not yet be broken.
Like, Leda?
What's the meaning of this? Perhaps the knife was broken beforehand.
Baby, that's not possible. The tip of the knife was found inside the victim's body.
If it was broken beforehand, it couldn't wind up there. That's right. But what does this mean? The tip of the knife was undeniably discovered within the victim's body. The only possible explanation is the witness's memory is mistaken. So we're just...
You know, there was a time in this game when we talked back and forth without the screamy objection thing, but I guess at this point, when we were writing fanfic, it was a staple of the series, and they wanted to shove as many as they could in for dramatic effect.
That's why I asked her so many times if she was sure she remembered correctly. I believe you were annoyed at the time. But she was sure she remembered correctly. But there's no other way to explain his inconsistency. Not so fast, Mr. Edgeworth. There is another explanation. Have you forgotten already? About a little something called falsified evidence. You're treading on thin ice, Wright. All I'm saying is that this broken knife tip might be the piece of evidence that was forged. You can't deny the possibility. No. Are you saying the investigation really was corrupt? Your Honor, please allow me once again to go over the events that took place the day of the murder. The police department and the prosecutor's office were holding a ceremony that day. after receiving the King of Prosecutors Award at the ceremony. That one has a flat tip. Neil Marshall questioned Joe Dark along with Damon Gant. During his questioning, Joe Dark fled the room. Prosecutor Marshall chased after him and was killed by Dark. It is my belief that somewhere in this story there is a lie.
I'm not lying. The man really was holding up a broken knife.
If that's true, then there's no other way around it. This could not have been the actual murder weapon. There must have been another broken knife. What are the chances of there being two broken knives? Another broken knife besides Joe Dark's. Could there have been one? Yes. If the witness is adamant about the accuracy of what she saw, it can't just be explained away by a simple observational error.
Editor's note: human memory is very unreliable, and being adamant that you remember something correctly is actually no likelihood of actually remembering it correctly. Even for something that was drawn 2 days after the event, even if it was traumatic enough to stick with you. I know that would make this game, again, the evidence has to be true so you can sort of figure out the puzzle. If the evidence becomes untrue, then the whole thing falls apart. So I get it why it is for this game, but I'm just letting everyone know. Mr. Wright.
In that instant, Emma really did see a broken knife. I assume then that you have some other information about this broken knife? If so, please feel free to enlighten us. The murder weapon was already broken prior to the murder. There's only one way. Take a look at this. Here's the real murder weapon. If anything's broken here, it's you. Huh? I'm sure this must be very amusing to you, Mr. Wright.
What? It is! It's the King of Prosecutors trophy! Fuck y'all. Honestly, fuck you and your... How many pages? 1, 2, 3 pages? And despite the fact that it literally says the halberd was removed 2 years ago in the thing, and you'd think this would be... Fuck you!
Take that!
Why would you not code it to accept both? This was sloppy! Did they even beta test it?
The answer lies in the past. 2 years in the past. Right here inside this picture. This is a picture of the award ceremony. Ah! What is it, Mr. Edgeworth? It's the broken murder weapon. Notice the award Prosecutor Marshall is holding.
broken knife.
As we earlier concluded, the knife in the drawing was not Joe Dark's knife. That being the case, the knife the witness saw was in all likelihood from this award. Order! Order! Neil Marshall was awarded King of Prosecutors that day. As an award, he was given this broken shield and knife. When he chased after Joe Dark, he pulled out this knife. Being a prosecutor, he did not carry a pistol. This broken knife was the only weapon he had in this dangerous situation.
Objection!
But that can't be. Oh? And why not, Mr. Edgeworth? Because if the King of Prosecutors' award knife was the murder weapon, then the murderer and the victim would be reversed. What do you mean? I mean, this man raising the knife would have been Prosecutor Neil Marshall. I mean, he could have been overpowered and got the knife away from him, but sure. But the prosecutor was actually the one who died. That's true. It seems Mr. Wright has been a bit too eager to jump to conclusions.
Wait, I remember now. I remember everything.
Witness?
Mr. Edgeworth.
What is it?
Could you show me your evidence list again, please?
His list? The one with that picture scribbled on the back?
I knew it. This picture. I'm the one who drew it.
What? You drew that?
That's right. The list wasn't torn in half at the time I drew this picture.
There's a beholder in the room?
All this time, I've been trying so hard to forget. I must have locked this part away deep inside me.
Perhaps it would be best if we added this to the witness's testimony? Would you please tell us what you've recalled, Miss Skye?
Yes, Your Honor.
First the knife mix-up and now the blue badger?
When I saw that man raise his knife, I panicked and rushed towards both of them. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. Just then there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger. He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow.
This is certainly most unusual.
Objection!
Try impossible. The chief of detectives hadn't even designed him until this year. That would mean he didn't exist 2 years ago. Stop! Please! Don't pursue this any further! Lana? What's the meaning of this? Please remain seated in the defendant's chair. But you can't do this! I've already confessed to the crime! Why can't you just leave it at that? Chief Prosecutor Scott.
So are we really gonna take the Edgeworth, I thought I killed someone as a kid thing and apply it to Emma? Is that where we're going? Did Emma kill somebody and Lana's been covering it up? And Emma was 14. That's pretty old to just wipe all of it out.
We've already come this far. It's too late to turn back. Silence! The defense will now begin its cross-examination. Bailiff, please detain the defendant. It seems we're finally getting to the core of the matter.
Do you know which one it was?
What do you mean you think?
It all happened so fast, and I was in shock. I don't remember everything clearly.
Miss Skye was almost killed before she was witness to a murder about to take place. With so much happening in a matter of seconds, a little disorientation is only natural.
I saw the man about to stab the other person, who I thought was Mr. Marshall. I knew I had to stop the man with the knife.
What you did was very brave, young girl. So then what happened next?
His shadow. You didn't see his face with its winning smile? That's right, but I still remember it. He had those 3 creepy horns.
Objection!
This is pointless. That thing couldn't possibly have existed 2 years ago. The witness must be mistaken. That may well be. But what's important is what caused her to think she saw what she did. I suppose you have an explanation. If so, by all means, tell us what this shadow really was.
Blue Badger hadn't been dreamt up when Emma drew this picture. She's certain she saw its shadow.
It is the defense belief that on that fateful day 2 years ago, there was indeed something that looked similar to the Blue Badger. Something that is now sitting in this very room.
Mr. Wright!
What is it that the witness saw in that instance? Please show us this mysterious Blue Badger look-alike. that wasn't in the room. That wasn't in the room. That wasn't in the room. No, no, no. The only thing that was in the room was the knight and the vase. Oh. Okay, yeah, it's got 3 prongs. Yeah, okay, sure. The mysterious blue badger was in fact this. But that's... what is that? I believe it's some sort of jar. But Mr. Wright, that doesn't look anything like the blue badger. As it stands now, it's just a plain jar. What if we were to change our viewpoint? Our viewpoint? Seems like it should do it. Oh, it's... fudge. I hope that's right. Well, is this a miracle or what? No one can possibly deny this jar's resemblance to the blue badger. No, it can't be. Order! Order! The defense has proven its claim. The mysterious blue badger witnessed on the day of the crime was actually this.
Objection!
Although we all enjoyed Mr. Wright's dramatic performance, one question remains. What is the point? What do you mean? So the badger thing was actually just a jar. That doesn't change anything.
Objection!
I'm afraid that's where you're wrong, Mr. Edgeworth. You see, this changes everything. Indeed. Very well then, please tell us. What's different now that we know the witness saw this jar?
Why did she see it over their heads? Like somebody was throwing it or something? Did somebody fling it at the men and...
truly do not know. I'm gonna say the vase is the murder weapon? Allow me to take these in turn. At the moment of the murder, the witness saw this jar. At a very specific angle, I might add, Mr. Wright. Yes. Knowing this, where could she have seen the jar? Where? The location of the jar is shown in the picture taken on the day of the crime. It's on a shelf in the office of Damon Gant.
Objection!
But the body was found lying near Lana Sky's desk. Oh, that's true. The witness testified so herself. Yes, and it is these two facts that reveal what actually transpired. You see, the struggle between Dark and Marshall did not take place in Lana Sky's office. It happened on the other side of the room in Chief Gant's office. You imply the murderer moved the victim's body from Damon Gant's office to Lana Sky's office? Yes. Why would he do that? There's no reason. Exactly. If there wasn't a reason, he wouldn't have gone through the trouble. The only logical conclusion is that there was a reason. Do you know what that reason was, Mr. Wright? I finally figured it out. So this is why Lana tried to stop the trial. It's too late to quit now, though. Please recall the witness's testimony. She said she knocked away the man who was holding up the knife. In the next instant, the jar was hit and flew through the air. Now tell me, what could have sent the jar flying? That would have to have been the impact the man made when he was knocked into the wall? Ladies and gentlemen, if I may draw your attention to this picture once more. Oh god, did he impale himself on the knight? So we're taking elements from all the cases. We've got the accidental impaling from the samurai, the kid murderer from Edgeworth. I'm not sure what was taken from the other two, but I'm sure I'll think of something. If the man was knocked in the direction of the shelf the jar was sitting on, what would he have hit? Oh! The suit of armor, holding a very sharp and dangerous-looking sword. Yes. And since the man who was knocked into the armor was carrying a broken knife, he would have had to be Neil Marshall, wielding the King of Prosecutors trophy. No. Mr. Wright, you can't be thinking. Yes. There is another possibility of what actually transpired in that room. Another possibility? Of course, the perpetrator would have had no idea. But nevertheless, I don't know if I can go through with this. But then it's totally an accidental death and not something that she would be legally responsible for. Like, that's where I get frustrated. Mr. Wright, what's the matter? If events took place as defense theorizes, then the outcome is obvious. In that moment, assuming the man Emma Sky knocked away was actually Prosecutor Neil Marshall,
You mean Mr. Marshall died because of me? No!
I never imagined her testimony would lead to this. So it was the witness who took the victim's life. And then proved so with her own testimony. This is unprecedented.
What? What are you saying?
So that's why... So that's why Damon kept that piece of evidence that had Emma's prints on it. And that's why Lana has been willing to do anything he says. Because he's been blackmailing her. And it just makes Lana look not smart, because nobody is gonna prosecute a 14-year-old kid who, in the middle of a tussle with a murderer, knocks someone aside in the dark in panic and they are impaled on a piece of furniture. Like, that's so many layers of accidental and self-defense and understandable. So Lana has been putting innocent people in prison and abetting murder because she doesn't understand how prosecution works, but also she's the most talented detective they've ever seen and a talented chief prosecutor. So she totally knows how to work a courtroom and has no clue how to defend her sister from something that isn't illegal. That's a strong female character right there. Oh. I'm sorry, Miss Skye, but given the circumstances... Joe Dark murdered Prosecutor Marshall. How can you think it was Emma? How dare you try to pin the crime on her? Imagine that coming from you. If you recall, it was you who admitted to forging evidence 2 years ago. The reason you moved Prosecutor Marshall's body was to keep anyone else from finding out what Emma did, wasn't it? I assure you, Mr. Edgeworth, I have no idea what you're talking about. If you hope to have anyone believe your insane allegations, I'm afraid you're going to have proof. Tell me, do you have any conclusive evidence that proves my sister killed Neil Marshall? Evidence? I'm willing to bet you don't. Yes, it certainly would be difficult to prove this with evidence. If we don't have evidence, we'll have to rely on testimony. I'm afraid that won't work in this case. Both parties involved in the incident are dead. You can't get dead people to testify. We have her fingerprints, baby. Have you forgotten? Touché, Miss Skye. Of course, That only leaves us with one possibility. What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? I mean the possibility that the victim has left us a message. For better or worse, Mr. Marshall did not die instantly. He may have left behind the name of the person who took his life. Oh god, okay, so I did say we're taking the child murderer from case number 4 and the mistaken swap murder weapon from case number 3, so now we're gonna have the name of the murder from case number 1, from number 2, where Maya's name was supposedly drawn. This is the most fanficky thing! How can I ham-fistedly tie in as many elements as I can? As if this guy, who totally would probably have no idea what even happened. It was in the dark, it was a struggle, he doesn't know who shoved him. He probably wouldn't know what happened. And he loved a fucking, what's her name, Lana and her little kid sister anyway. He wouldn't have written. That's not like a mandatory thing that when you're dying, you're seized with, I must let them know what happened. Like, okay, fine, whatever, let's continue with the fanfic. In one manner or another. That's impossible! Yeah, I just have to find a written note. I guarantee that's gonna happen. I know it. Well, Mr. Wright, this is the only possibility left to you. A message from the deceased. Does such a message exist? The real murderer's name that the victim may have left behind is in the evidence, sure. I don't know where, it's somewhere. This message from the deceased is already in our possession. Mr. Wright! Will you stop at nothing to prove my sister a murderer? Stop. You're just embarrassing yourself. Do not be mistaken, Miss Guy. Our purpose is not to accuse Emma of any crime. There's only one thing we seek. The truth. No matter how painful it may be. Now then, Mr. Wright, please show the piece of evidence that conveys a message from the deceased. I mean, there's the piece of cloth, which I would have presented. It's got to do with those blood traces. Dark red stains must be blood traces from the incident 2 years ago. Only the fragment found in Chief Gant's office still has lines remaining on it. Lines. He kept it as evidence so he could blackmail What's-Her-Face. Show me that again. So everything else... If it's a message, then it would need to say Emma. This could be an M, which would mean it went like this. If it goes like this is the middle part of an E. And what's all... Oh, because this is the M, so this is the A. Yeah, it's... Yeah. This is so contrived. So, while impaled by a sword, he found a vase that had fallen on the floor and not broken? How did he write the message on a broken vase? I mean, there's all the cracks. It was all together and he wrote it and then it broke later? And then they kept the fragments as evidence? Did it not break when it hit the floor? Because if it was already broken on the floor, then writing on it would be impossible. This is the message left by the deceased. This is the blue badger from before. Oh, is he just going to speak the killer's name? If that thing could, I'm sure it would. Everyone's forgotten this is a jar. A message was left here on the surface of the jar. If you look closely, you can see a faint trail of blood on this jar. looks like someone wiped the blood away. Yes, but notice, for some reason, the blood on some of the fragments was not wiped away. There is a line here, drawn in blood. What you're saying is that these dots were once lines. Prosecutor Marshall did not die instantly. He used the few precious moments left to him to leave behind a message. One that someone wiped away. But blood must have seeped into the jar where the lines changed directions. Precisely. All we need to do is connect these points, and the victim's message will become apparent. No! Mr. Wright, what kind of message did the victim leave for us? Your Honor, I believe these bloodstains reveal the answer to us. There's only one thing the victim would have written given the circumstances. His murderer's name. So, we're not going to use the luminol? It's a defense attorney's duty to prove their client's innocence. That's why all I've been thinking about is saving Lana. After all my efforts, I never thought it would turn out like this. It doesn't matter. It was a mistake. She's not going to prison. She might not have a future in prosecution, but honestly, that's a good thing. Emma. So this is the final message Prosecutor Marshall left behind. Of all people. She may not have meant it, but in the end, the one who took the victim's life was Emma Skye. Like, look, I don't want her to have had something horrible and sad and bad happen. Like that makes me sad because she's a good girl, and even more killing in self-defense is painful and hard. I don't want her to suffer. I want her to have lots of counseling and a happy life. But this is honestly the best possible outcome. It was an accident. It wasn't... Okay. Seaworthy, can't say I didn't warn you. Chief Gant. Do you understand the implications of what you've done? What are you talking about? 2 years ago, Joe Dark was sentenced to death. He was convicted because of his final murder. I believe you were the prosecutor in the case, were you not? Yeah, with falsified evidence and at least one, maybe two, detectives giving falsified testimony. Yes, Worthy. Because of you, an innocent man was sentenced to death.
Really? Because of me? Not because of the fact that you and Lana gave falsified evidence and falsified testimony? Like, I just... Okay. Not only that, but you used forged evidence to ensure his conviction.
Objection!
Joe Dark really was a serial murderer. That's undeniable. I'm afraid that's not important. Didn't you know? We aren't defenders of justice. We're merely keepers of the law. Sentencing a man to death is no light matter. Even if there wasn't any cover-up or evidence forgery, ultimately the responsibility falls on the prosecutor in charge. Because why? Despite what anyone may say, this fact cannot be denied. Okay. The gavel's pounding fell on deaf ears. Unable to settle the crowd, the judge declared a recess. Where this trial is headed, no one knows.
What? No! No! I thought this was gonna be the last one! Fudge! I mean, what can you say about this? Really? It's so blatantly fanfic with the deliberate usage of previous elements from previous cases that it's hard to take serious as a drama. I don't get invested when I'm like, oh, this is the bit from episode 2. Huh, this is the bit from episode 3. Huh, this is the bit from episode 4. It's ham-handedly shoving them in so hard that it's breaking the immersion, the game, because I'm over here going, how did he write a note on a broken vase in such a way that when we glued it together, it read properly what it should have read? I mean, the only way that works is if she knocked the vase over, it hit the floor but didn't break, he wrote her name, and when Lana saw it, she, instead of just quietly cleaning it off and putting it back up, or quietly cleaning it off and disposing of it, she smashed it to pieces. So that was ineffective and made no sense. And again, did all this despite the fact that Emma was in no danger whatsoever. There was a serial killer in the room. He was trying to kill her. The light went out. She shoved somebody away. And the wrong person died. Nobody was going to put her in prison for that. and then, like, with the name, I could tell there was going to be a name even before it made any sense to look for one, because the game clearly signaled that there was one, and you just had to find it. And, it's badly written. I don't know. It's frustrating because the first 4 episodes were great. But the DLC written by a rabid fan who is also maybe a drunk raccoon? Possibly? It's just not well written. And this whole conceit that now Edgeworth is going to be in trouble for... I mean, the 2 head investigators on the scene, the chief of police and his underling, the ones with the office on the 15th floor, were lying to him and were the ones providing false evidence. It makes no sense. To act like he's gonna go down for this. It's just silly. It's supposed to be dramatic, but it's just silly. And it's extremely annoying to me that Lana has gone from this extremely strong character who is interesting in terms of... I mean, she reminded me a lot of Olivier from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. You know, right down to the general uniform. Very strong, very... commanding presence. And I like Olivier. So that's what she reminded me of. And, like, the minute we actually start unraveling a little bit, she's, no, you don't have any proof. And, like, was willing to, in an instant, turn into someone willing to help with a murder, to falsify evidence, to betray all her principles, everything good about her moral compass, because why? Because of something that no one would prosecute her sister for. Nobody. I just... Alright, okay, alright. It is, that was an episode of Phoenix Wright. My name is Anna Mardal. If you were sticking through this and putting up with my whining and complaining, then God bless you. You are patient, and I am very grateful. I will see you in the next episode. I have to decide whether to try to go to bed or whether I want to stay up. It's a little after midnight here. Or whether I want to just stay up and power through and do the last episode. Because there can't be... The next episode will be the ending. Yeah, I think I may just power straight into it. Because there can't be much more. So yeah, let's do that. I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.